Today we're going to replace the transfer case fluid on a 2005 Infiniti G35X all-wheel drive. Okay, and for this vehicle it requires Nissan Matic-D automatic transmission fluid. That's going to go in the transaxle. Do not confuse that with the transmission. Transmission for this vehicle takes the Nissan Matic-J. This is Nissan Matic-D. You can see right there. Just double check that, and the way to double check that is to go to your manual. The manual that came with your car will tell you, it'll say transaxle fluid and it'll say Nissan Matic-D. Just make sure that matches up. If you have a vehicle that's similar or a different vehicle, always check that manual because all cars are different, just to be sure you don't put the wrong fluid in. And we are using Nissan rather than using some other brand. You know, this was about $9.50 from Amazon. Just pick it up. It's expensive, yeah, but you know what, it only takes 1.2 quarts, so I know I have you know, plenty of fluid. I bought 2 quarts, more than enough. If I spill something goes wrong, I have some left over, so you can't go wrong. Just pick up the Nissan Matic-D and you'll be all set to go. Okay, so the fill hole is in a really bad location. It's nearly impossible to fill it any other way with the exception of using a pump. Don't get one of those bulb pumps. They don't work. They're cheap. You're just going to waste a few bucks. It's better off just go right for one of these pumps. They're a lot better. And the thing I like about this pump is, if you look, you can see in there, it'll fit 2 different size bottles, which is really cool, and that's a great little addition there. That way you don't get a pump and it doesn't fit. At least you have 2 shots at seeing if it'll fit. So we'll give this a try. And to give you an idea of the location of where the transaxle is, here's the front of the vehicle. It's going to be about the front third of the vehicle. You can see I have my jack and jack stands right here underneath. And you can see where the exhaust splits under the center of the car. Transaxle is going to be right in front of that, and I'll give you a better view in just a second. Okay, so here we are under the car. There's the front left tire. There's the front right tire. There's the transmission pan and drain bolt right there. And the transaxle is behind the transmission pan, and that's right here. Okay, so there's the fill bolt on top. You can see there to the left of it there's a sensor. So it's right next to the sensor. This is the fill bolt. You're going to want to take that off first. You want to make sure you can get that fill bolt off first before you attempt to take off the drain bolt. And here is the drain bolt right there. If you take that drain bolt off first, you drain the fluid, and then if you can't get that fill bolt off, then you're in trouble. You're going to have to get your car towed. So always take off that fill bolt first, and then take off the drain bolt and drain the fluid. And that's what we're going to do next. And up there for that fill bolt, it's a 10mm hex size, and I have a hex bit for that. For the bottom, it looks like it's a 1/2 inch. I don't have a hex bit for that drain bolt, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my 1/2 inch ratchet to take that off. I'm not going to use a breaker bar. It shouldn't be too difficult to take off, so we'll see what happens with that. Okay, so there is my ratchet attached up there. You don't need any kind of extension or anything like that. It should fit in there, no problem, and you can just crack that open, and that actually came loose without much effort. I didn't need a breaker bar or anything like that, so I'm just going to take that off and loosen that up, and then we'll go to work on this drain bolt down here. And as you can see here, I'm just using my 1/2 inch ratchet to take this off. I'm not using a hex bit or anything like that. I didn't have one, so I'm just going to use that. It should be fine. And it is loose. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. It is coming undone. I didn't need any kind of a breaker bar for that. So there's not a lot of room under here. So we should be able to get that bolt off also, and we'll be all set to go. Okay, so here's the bolts off the car. This here is the fill bolt. You can see it does have a washer. I'm going to reuse that washer. You can get a new one. It's always a good idea. They're really cheap. I don't have one right now, so I am going to just use the one that's on there. I'm just going to clean this up really good, and that'll be good to go. And here's the drain bolt. The drain bolt actually looks a lot better than I thought it would look. You can see on the top, on the sides, that's the magnet there. And there's a few shavings, but nothing too bad. It's actually in pretty good shape. So I'm just going to clean this up really good. I'm going to clean the threads, clean that magnet off, make sure there's no shavings going back into the transfer case, and then I'll put some PTFE sealant on those threads because there is no washer on this drain bolt. So keep that in mind. You're going to have to get some kind of sealant. I'll show you what I'm going to use in just a minute. Okay, so I have the bolts cleaned up. You can see the magnetic bolt there, the drain bolt. Got the threads cleaned, have all the magnetic shavings taken off. That's almost set to go. Right here I have thread sealant with PTFE. It's kind of like a silicone based, and this has a very high temperature range, and it also resists corrosion from salts, gasolines, and other types of solvents. So this is going to be squeezed into those threads right there in the drain bolt. On this bolt here, this is the fill bolt. I'm not going to need any. There is already a washer on that, and I'm going to reuse that washer like I said earlier, and that'll be good enough there. But this drain bolt, you're going to have to make sure you put thread sealant on those threads, and you'll be all set to go. And you don't need too much in there. Just make sure you get it at the top. You're not going to be taking this bolt off for a very long time, so you might as well do it right the first time. Okay, so here we are back under the car, and here's the drain bolt, and I'm just going to finger tighten it for now. And I'm going to get my ratchet, half-inch ratchet. I'm just going to snug that up. Okay, so I started filling until it started to drip out. It took about 1 1/4 quart. So 1 full quart and then almost 1/4 of a second quart. So it didn't really take too much. That's completely normal. It was fairly dirty when it came out. I'll show you a comparison later on that. Now what I'm going to do is just clean this up a bit with some paper towels. I've already snugged the drain bolt, and I'm going to snug up the fill bolt. Not too tight. I'm not going to use the torque specs or anything like that. As long as you snug it, you don't over tighten or under tighten, you should be fine. And after you run the vehicle, you can always check for leaks. There's no splash guard under here. The splash guard for this vehicle is only in the front. There is no splash guard under the transaxle. So, you know, just after you park for a while, a few days of driving, just make sure you don't see any red drips around the center of your vehicle, and you should be fine. Okay, so here's the fluid. This is the old fluid, and it is a really dark red. And here's the clean fluid, and it's a very nice bright red color. So I'm glad I did this. This car has never had transaxle fluid replaced, and that was over 10 years. So this is what over 10 years looks like. This is what the ATF Nissan Matic-D fluid looks new. So it looks really good now that that's replaced. And I just want to go over one more thing. This pump was amazing. It worked extremely well. So if you're looking for a really decent pump at a great price, try to search for this online. I paid $8.99 and it just works incredibly well. I'm really glad I bought this pump. And like I said earlier, it's got the attachments here, so you can attach 2 different size bottles. This particular pump worked perfect for the automatic transmission fluid from Nissan, the actual Nissan fluid, so that worked great. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it.